Duffy, and I'm here with my dad, Dr. Morris Duffy. And we've had questions sent in from the audience, so I'm going to get him to answer them for us today. But first of all, I've got two things. I'd like to introduce you to our audience today. Say hello to our audience, the NHS staff. And last night, everybody took part in a clap, and they waved lightsabers and banged pots. So I'm just going to NHS staff quickly with my lightsaber, and my dad's going to clap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, NHS.
Thank you, NHS. Thank you, everybody else that's helping. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's start these questions. I've got the first question from James.
Yep.
What are the best ways that parents can teach their learning mindsets?
I think that how I'd answer that question is you have to model the behaviour you want to see. Right? So you have to model the behaviour you want to see. And too often what we do is we tell our kids what they should be doing. Right? We're very good at giving the instructions. We're very good at defining the requirement. But what we don't do is model that behaviour. And it's very, very difficult to get kids to do something that we're not doing ourselves. Our children learn primarily by mimicking the behaviour that they actually see. So whatever behaviour that you're displaying is more likely, right, to be carried forward into future generations. And so for me, it's all about modelling the behaviour. Model the behaviour, just like I do with you. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Well, next 3 questions. Because Jenny has sent us in 3 questions.
Okay.
But they're all based around the same thing. Well done, Jenny. They're all based around the same thing, so I'm going to ask you them all at once.
Okay.
What is a growth mindset? What is it intended to do? And what will it improve?
So when we look at mindsets, I think that we have to kind of look at them in this way. There's some great work done on what is a fixed mindset and what is a growth mindset. And a fixed mindset tends to be where you believe that you have reached the level of your ability or the level of your skill or the level of your talent. A growth mindset is where you continually believe that you can grow and you can learn some more. And this is really important because, in a lot of coaching that I do with adults, this is one of the problems that I face on a regular basis. And it's so important in our kids as well. And that the difficulty that we have, again, is that we teach our kids in a way that, for a lot of us, when we were growing up, maybe we didn't have all of the things that you have. We didn't have all of the benefits that you had, and we want to actually try and give you as much opportunity as we possibly can. And we can spoil it in the way that we do it, even if we have a growth mindset ourselves. Because what we've got to understand is that, the challenge is really important. And a lot of parents go and say that we should praise the effort and not the outcome. And I'll say that's both right and wrong. The effort is important and the outcome is important. But what we want to teach our kids is the learning strategy. And that's the important bit, the learning strategy. So the effort is important, and you've got to learn that you've got to put the effort in and keep putting the effort in. And the outcome, be it, that it is a success or a failure. And you've heard me say many times that failure
is not the opposite of success. Yes, I know it is.
That's right. So, but other people don't know. So the failure is not the opposite of success. The failure is part of success. So we've got to praise the effort. We've got to kind of praise the outcome. We've got to praise the learning strategy. And be the outcome a success or not a success, we've got to help our children understand what we have learned out of that, and what can we carry forward.
Okay then. Next question from Donnie. What can parents do to help with mindset?
Again, I think it goes back to the first question that I addressed. The first thing they can do is model the behaviour. The second thing, as I just responded in the previous question, is they can praise both the effort and the learning strategy, right? And that's kind of an important point. We've got to understand that our brains can continue to grow. When I work with leaders who were children once, as I was a child once, right? You might be surprised by that.
No, I am.
Yeah, I was a child once, yeah.
Oh.
Playful. But, the point being is that, children, who become adults and who grow up with a fixed mindset, have difficulties later on in developing careers or being successful. And one of the key things that we look for in leaders right now, right, is inquisitiveness. Now, all leaders, I would say, are all intelligent. They've all been educated. They've all been through, good schools. They've all been on training programs, and they have, the skill and they have the brains, but they're not inquisitive. And inquisitive means I've got a willingness to continue to learn. I'm constantly searching for new things. I will unlearn in order to learn, and to unlearn is I'm prepared to take some stuff out to move on and put some other stuff in. And in the same way with children, what we've got to do is we've got to teach them about that learning strategy. And that learning strategy is really important. The effort is really important. The learning strategy is really important. And the appreciation that the outcome is a learning outcome, not just a successful one, or not just one that's not successful.
Okay then, and then this question's from Sharma. Is there a right way to praise kids and encourage them to do well?
I touched upon this earlier on. For many of us who maybe had a difficult upbringing, or perhaps not the upbringing that some kids talk about. I tell you about walking to school with no shoes and which you don't believe, and it's not true. But we talk to our kids all the time. And so many parents are gifted and capable and have great mindsets. But when it comes to educating their kids, or when it comes to helping their kids, what they want to do is to protect them, or they want to protect them from the outcome, or they want to protect them from what other people say, or they want to protect them in case they get actually hurt. And they can actually have a growth mindset themselves and teach their kids fixed mindset. And that's the scary thing, because what they want to teach them is good things. In order to be able to do that, we have to allow our kids to learn. And I'm a huge believer that our educational system is fundamentally flawed. And how we teach our kids is fundamentally flawed. For me, people and kids learn best when they experience the learning, when they're developed through the learning, when they're mimicking the learning, when they actually see the learning being demonstrated by other people. And I say to parents, and I say to teenagers, and I say to kids, you have to allow yourself to learn. And in life and in the education that I go through, is I say to people, you have to make mistakes. And we all have to make mistakes. That's the greatest learning. Because if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself. You're not actually asking yourself difficult things. You're not putting yourself in a position where you can feel like you've failed, but you haven't failed, so long as you can translate that into a learning opportunity.
Okay then, and from Aki, what about older kids who might feel discouraged and worn down after years of feeling that they weren't smart enough, or a fear that they would never be able to be successful? Is it ever too late to foster a growth mindset in students?
So I do a lot of work with teenagers, and I love teaching kids. I as a 16-year-old, I was told by my dad that I wasn't bright enough to go to college, and that kind of lived with me all my life. I know that your mum, right? Somebody somewhere told her she wasn't very good at maths, and she will continue to repeat today that she's not very good at maths. So the inputs into the educational system that come from parents is really important. But when I run classes for teenagers, again, it's the environment. So I ran some sessions recently at a school, where a lot of the problems that we have in schools right now, where they talk about obesity, well, in this school it was all about malnourishment and the fact that they had a lifespan that was 10 years less than other people. And I'm saying, in the 5th largest economy in the world, how can this happen? But in the sessions that I did with them, what I loved, was the attitude that they actually have. But they were diminished by the environment. They were constrained by the environment. They were put into boxes by the environment. They were surprised that anybody, would want to come and talk to them rather than going and talk to some other posh school. So they had already positioned themselves in the world. But the belief that I have and the experience that I have says you can turn that around. You know, and part of my job, as you know, is about motivation and motivating individuals and working with those kids and helping them to rebuild their belief system, helping them to understand that the opportunities are there for them as well as for other people, helping them to understand that they have to learn, that they have to open their mindsets up to the world, helping them to understand that the environment which people were putting them in was not the environment that they had to live in. All those things and going through that journey, right, I believe passionately, right, that BU 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, BU 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, BU 30, 40, 50, BU 70, 80, 90, you can continue to learn if your attitude is set for learning.
Okay then, the next question from Hader.
Yeah?
I saw you coach Steve Smith. What is he like and what was wrong that he did? And if I could ask a second question, I see you also coach Cameron Bancroft. Do you think he should be playing cricket and should you be coaching him to get past what he did?
Oh, now there's the difficult question. You know, that's the fast bowled question right at me, isn't it? So, you know, I have and coach lots of individuals, and it's, you know, what I would say is that, you know, that the mistakes that they made, they have admitted the mistakes, you know, in working and in dealing with the individuals. And I just did a podcast yesterday with Cameron Bancroft that I'll be putting out later on. Not later on today, but probably Monday or Tuesday. And, you know, he is a fantastic individual. You know, Steve Smith is one of the most open individuals that I have met to learning. He is an individual that has a huge desire, appetite for new things, for learning new things. He has a relentless application of energy. You know, we saw him in the Ashes last summer where, you know, as an Irish person, I was happy to kind of help them beat the English. But that's a different story as well. But, you know, what they did was wrong. And we all make mistakes. And that was a bad mistake, and it was a terrible time when I was there. And I think both Cameron and Steve would say, yeah, we made mistakes and we have moved on. And what I would say to, you know, to individuals is, well, can we learn from that? You know, sometimes we make bad decisions. Sometimes we make inappropriate decisions. But everybody is entitled to rehabilitation. You know, I think that they've taken the punishment. I think that they have learned from that punishment. And I think that they have moved on. And, you know, as somebody who has worked with them or works with them, I would say, you know, they're better people. And that was the learning in it. They are better people as a result of it. They're better human beings as a result of it. Hopefully they're better cricketers as a result of it. And they would recognize the fact that this is, you know, baggage that they're going to have to carry. You know, everywhere they go, they get asked the question. I asked Cameron about it yesterday. You know, and he made some really insightful comments, and he made some very insightful comments about the journey since, about the fact of what he learned was that he needed to learn, and how that learning journey happened, because he was dropped by Western Australia just before the coronavirus came in. And again, you know, he looked at that failure, that being dropped. He analysed why it had actually happened. He understood the rationale for it. He kind of took that as a part of his learning strategy, and now he's reapplying himself, which hopefully he'll come back to Durham this year.
Okay then, and from Skadia, how do you become a famous coach? Can I become one? We've got the competition here.
Oh, I could do without competition. I need to retire before you grow up, because I think you want to take over from me as well. And he's really chuffed with himself, because last week his views outpaced mine, and I've been having it in the nick all week on that particular topic. You know, I became a coach because I got an opportunity of working with a guy by the name of Peter Vidmar, and Peter Vidmar was the first guy in history to score a perfect 10 on the pommel horse, an Olympic champion. And I was fascinated by you know, how he did it and why he did it, and the method he went through it. And he talks all the time, Peter does, about, you know, taking risks, being original, virtuosity, doing the ordinary in an extraordinary way. And I learned from him. And I was always interested in behavior and understanding behavior. And I then went on and had an opportunity of working with some really great people. And then I met a guy by the name of Dr. Bill McAmey, who wrote the book called The Frankenstein Manager. And Bill worked for me for a while. And he talked to me a lot about, that I had a skill, that I had a talent that I wasn't utilizing. I was running a big operation, but he said, you have a skill and a talent for, changing people, for motivating individuals, for helping individuals. You have an insight into behavior, which he was very kind to say, that is exceptional. So I took all of those things and went on to learn to be a coach. And, what I would say, is it to Hader? Is it Hader? Hader. I would say to Hader is, you can be whatever you want to be.
No, it's
Sakida.
Sakida.
So Sakida, you can be, or Hader, you can be whoever you want to be. And that's the kind of key point that I put across. We have the opportunity of choosing the life we want. Dr. Frackl said when he wrote about mindfulness is, the only thing that people cannot take away from you to the moment that you die is your attitude to life. And we get to decide what that attitude is. We get to decide what that attitude is today. We get to decide what that attitude is tomorrow. We get to decide what that attitude is to our learning and to our education and to our future. And if we decide that's what we want to do, if we're willing to learn, if we're willing to commit ourselves, then yes, I believe everything is possible. And if your ambition is to be a coach, then I have no doubt that you will achieve that.
I try harder in case he overtakes you, though.
Yes.
And then the last question.
You haven't written this question down, so obviously, what is the last question?
Well, I think it's the most important question that we've heard. It's the best question so far.
Yes, all right.
I personally think this is a very important one, and it deserves a very good answer.
Okay.
Can I get my pocket money increased?
Oh, well, there you go. You see, now you've heard me talk about, putting effort in and looking at the outcome, right? So I'm sure that if we look at what you're going to put effort in and we're going to look at the outcome and we're going to look at the learning strategies, right, then I am sure we can examine the opportunity for you to get an increase in your pocket money. Now, is that a good answer?
I guess so. Better answer would have just been the word yes, but it's getting there.
Well, we can talk about that one off camera. We don't need to do that in front of people. Guys, thank you very much for your time. That was great. Thank you for Ethan. Thank you from me. You can follow us on the Big Squawks. You can send any questions in to let's talk at morrisduffy.com. We'll be back with Ethan next Friday. All right, and if you watch this video more than you watch mine, then I'm going to be really upset because that's going to make his ego even bigger. But you can follow us on LinkedIn at Dr. Morris Duffy, on Facebook Dr. Morris Duffy. As I said, you can send your questions in to Let's Talk and to the NHS and to all of the individuals that are involved. I want to say thank you, and to you, thank you very much. So thank you very much.
Let's get 4,000 views.
Yes, get 4,000 views. Okay, thank you very much.